Hello and welcome to A Day with the Cart Driver. We're up to the spring 2019 season. I'm here with Day.
And I am, of course, here with Scamp.
That being, I am Scamp and this is Day. Well, we're spring 2019, so if you've been listening this far, you probably know who we are. And
God, I would hope so.
yes, it's like, which one's the man again?
He's Day, right?
Yes, definitely. Well, look, spring 2019 wasn't what... The 2019 fit basically almost all of its good anime into the summer season, but, you know, there was spring.
There's some stuff that's alright in spring. In fact, one of my favorites of the year was in the spring. But
oh, that's true.
It definitely was a sparser season than I'm accustomed to out of a spring season.
Yeah, spring is usually where they stack everything.
Yeah, spring and autumn. So there are only 2 shows I finished this season.
Oh.
One was about a bunch of preteen boys jumping into people's buttholes, and the other was a porno.
Okay.
So Sarazanmai, which
Oh, yes.
is, wow, Ikuahra has really gone off the chain.
Ikuahra makes an anime about anal sex?
Sort of. That's somewhat oversimplifying.
Okay.
So, how does one even explain it? Well, okay, first of all, it's Ikuahra, so you know everything is symbolism. And it involves these 3 boys whose paths end up intersecting, and they accidentally break a Kappa statue, so Kepi, who is a Kappa prince, comes out of the statue's like, how dare you, you stupid fox, and he rips the, what's it called again? Shirokodama?
Yeah.
It's this mythological, well, butt ball.
Yep.
It's this thing that supposedly existed in...
Imagine if the last anal bead got stuck up there.
Anyway, so he rips this out of them, because that is what Kappa do in folktales, is they rip this out of people's butts and it kills them. They don't die, they turn into Kappa, and then they fight evil. And they jump into someone else's butt and rip theirs out, and,
The evil being a form of desire, basically. A messed up desire they have, such as, I want to drink her bathwater.
or, I want her to treat me the way she treats her cat, so I shaved a bunch of cats so I could use their hair to make a fursuit.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's also not good if you're easily grossed out, because it gets pretty graphic when, you know, they're jumping into people's butts and everything. There's a lot of liquid. Anyway, in every episode, in order for them to transform into the Kappa, Kepi, like, swallows them, which somehow removes their Shirikodama and then craps them out as Kappa.
Yep.
There is also Sarazanmai is another character who's wandering around, who is this, she's an idol of some sort, and she seems only loosely connected initially to the whole thing, because one of the boys, his younger brother, is really into her. But as time goes on, you realize, like, oh, no, she seems kind of weird too, and, like, she's somehow more connected with the plot. I loved it. Oh god, I didn't even mention the dirty cops.
Yes.
Reo and Mabu, who are... they're working for the otters, because otters and Kappa are mortal enemies in Japanese folktales. And the otters are the ones who are warping people by using their messed up desires to turn them into monsters. They have a great dance sequence.
Where they yell about soya.
Yeah.
Soya, soya.
And it's always in the middle of them doing police meetings. So it caps at points with them standing on the desks of, well, it's a big meeting of police and they're just standing on the desk posing. I really like Reo Mabu.
I know, that's kind of the reason you like the show as much as you do.
I mean, I like all of the show. I do think it suffers a little from being only 11 episodes. I think if it had managed to be 13, then just even a couple more episodes would have helped flesh things out a little bit. Because Reo and Mabu have a lot of additional story that's only done in, additional material, because I mean, there was no room to fit it in the show. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I know you didn't really dig it. You didn't finish it.
I got to episode 10, which it kind of shows that it's my least favorite Ikuahara work.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into. I didn't care for I found the character stories not terribly interesting. I didn't get invested, especially in the police story, which you loved so much. It felt almost like they introduced it randomly halfway through, and it's like, wait, this is a main story thread? Okay.
Well, the prequel manga is completely centered around them. Which might be why it feels abrupt in the anime if you didn't read that. I appreciate... By the way, Reo and Mabu are canonically gay.
Well, yeah.
And they were in love with each other. Their relationship got messed up by the Otters, because of course it did. And, as an adult, I appreciate a portrait of deeply compromised queer people. Not just because we don't... There's a lot of compromises people have to make to live in this world, right? So I appreciate them as characters because I feel like I myself am a deeply compromised person. Certainly deeply compromised queer person. So even knowing that they're the villains, and I mean, they do a lot of bad stuff, I appreciate their story, and I also, spoilers, I appreciate that despite the fact that they did screw up a lot and they weren't always great people, Ikuahara did give them a happy ending. Even if it seemed like it was going to be tragic. This is, in fact, I would point out that this is probably the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Unqualified happy ending of an Ikuahara show. Because... Yes, stuff like Utena and Yuri Bearstorm have happy endings, and even Penguin Drum does, but there's always a degree of... I mean...
Utena's ending's weird.
It's a great ending. And it's undoubtedly a positive ending for Anthe.
Yes.
But it's also not clear what happened, where is Utena?
Yeah.
What's going to happen at the school now that Anthe's walked away? Who else is going to end up trapped in...
Yeah.
Penguin Drum has a happy ending because two of the main characters die. Yuri Bearstorm, on some level, is a happy ending in which, first of all, the dead girlfriend stays dead.
I think the Yuri Bearstorm one is because I didn't see the last episode of Sarazanmai, but... that one's positive because the whole ending is them breaking free of the society that hates them. Yeah. They don't actually... I suppose they don't solve society. No. But they break free of it and say, like, well, fuck y'all, we're going out beyond the wall kind of thing.
Yeah. But But there's still... I suppose you could make the argument that Sarazanmai maybe has the least realistic ending. But of course, given the fact that at least 4 members of the cast are folktale figures. I mean, you can kind of do what the fuck you want.
Using realistic in Ikuahara.
Well, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And of course I know I said that about, the story in, more realistic. Ah, yes, like that story in which, if you're too gay, you turn into a bear.
Yes. Ikuahara does... it's all metaphors, and it's all metaphors for sex.
I guess what I'm really getting at, though, is I appreciate the fact that something tragic, of course, happens to Reo and Mabu. And Ikuahara does whip out the one of, like, yeah, you know what? I can't give a logical reason for why this happens, but you know what? They had a happy fucking ending.
Yeah.
Especially in this sort of political setting in which we're in right now, worldwide, having a story which says, actually, you know what? The gays, they ain't dead. And you know what? I'm not going to explain why they ain't dead, but they ain't. And they're together, and they're happy. It's like, yes. But in general, I really liked the cast of Sarazanmai, and I enjoyed the ridiculous song and dance sequences, and I enjoyed the bit where they're leading up to the fights, and they're doing the stop motion stuff involving running with the cart. If you haven't seen it, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's okay. I really like it. I think it's absolutely worth watching. If you're easily grossed out, it's maybe not the best idea. However, if you're an Ikuahra fan, I think at this point, you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of gross, to me, I remember back when Yuri Bearstorm premiered, and people were like, oh, it's Goro! And then it wasn't. Anyway, this one's grosser than Yuri Bearstorm.
So, since you talked about the one anime from this season you loved, also about the one anime from this season I loved, it's not even a TV series, it's a movie, and it also features a gay couple, sorta. Promare! Promare, which I saw in cinema. I was one of those lucky... Quite a lot of people. It seems like it's really done the rounds across the world, actually, Promare. And it has been a wild success. The amount of buzz it's gotten from nearly everyone who saw it was this explosion of, wow, that was the most trigger I've ever seen. And the people who are into that just fell in love with it straight away, of which I am one of them. By Hiroyuki Imaishi, Kill a Kill, Gurren Lagann. And he's back, and he made a movie which is about a man too dumb to burn. It's weirdly similar to Fire Force, to the point that the Fire Force author, because that was this season, wasn't it?
He threatened to sue.
He threatened to sue, yes. I think
Fire Force isn't this season, it's next season.
Oh, yes, you're right. Because at the time he did. He put out a bunch of tweets basically saying, like, gosh, this sure is conveniently similar.
Yeah.
I think the story is them and the author of... He talked with some of the people at Trigger around about the time, and they kind of workshopped an idea. But then, like, it was only a friendly conversation kind of thing. There's a lot of similar kind of the people just randomly set on fire. The world gets all shaped by this, and there's a magical firefighting force who fights these fires.
Does anyone wear bikinis?
No.
Oh, okay. Then
there's at least one. I think there's someone who wears like more of a sports bra than a bikini top.
I was gonna say, because if there isn't, then I guess Promare has got to be, even though I haven't seen it, the better of the two.
Promare's incredible. Promare has some of the most... So the closest movie you compare it to is something that kind of isn't a great comparison point. It'd be something like Redline, maybe, in the sense that it really...
Top Gun.
Yes. It's style over substance. It's this one singular style condensed, put into one movie and just exploding out onto the screen. Redline felt like it was reminiscing over an older era of anime, and this was like the perfect culmination of all this older era stuff, kind of stylistically, the storyline. Whereas Promare feels more modern-y, in part because there's a lot of CG animation in this, and it is one of the best uses of CG anime combined with 2D animation. How they pull it off is that they don't try to make the 2D stuff look like it belongs in a 3D stuff look like it belongs in a 2D show. It's this clear, like, kind of blocky style almost. Like they did this in Gurren Lagann way back in 2007.
Ancient fucking history there.
Ancient fucking history for good CG anime.
True.
But it pulls it off kind of incredibly. And the whole thing is very triggery. It's like the characters, the main character is Kamina, There's characters basically from Kill la Kill in this. A lot of the stylistic things, it's triggered through and through, but it's easily the most complete version of their style so far.
Wait. Does Inferno Cop show up?
Inferno Cop is an eternally burning man.
Well, yes, so... It feels like there's something lacking if Inferno Cop didn't show up.
Inferno Cop in the same world as, like, Inferno Cop with the Inferno Fireman. But yeah, I love Promare. Promare is also the first time I have seen in my time being fandom. I know this used to be a thing back in the day, of people being fans of the show who have never seen it.
It's just that it doesn't happen these days in the era of streaming.
Yeah.
That's so unusual.
Yeah. People drawing fan art who have never seen Promare.
I guess, to me, it seems like it would only happen much with movies, because movies aren't as easy to, well, it comes out and it's not in a physical format. And yes, I know there are cam rips and all, but I've also noticed cam rips don't seem to be as much of a thing with anime movies.
No. People appreciate... I remember
Which
the
is
last...
good, because it's... Well, so, I mean, on a few levels it's good. I'd also point out that, generally speaking, cam rips are very bad visual quality.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like animated material would do worse in such an instance than would live action material.
I think I remember seeing some cam rips come out for Ava 3.
Okay.
And before that, Disappearance of Harry Suzumiya. But that's it. There may have even been one for the Code Geass movie. But
I just know it's not as big of a practice.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's just a larger thing that movies airing in or running in Japanese studios don't tend to get cam ripped as much. Maybe it has something to do with, you know...
I think there's no real appetite for it for cam rips anymore.
Not in anime, at least. I think people still watch plenty of movie cam rips.
Like Marvel stuff, I'd imagine.
Yeah. You know, big titles.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Promare. Seeing Promare in the cinema alongside a bunch of other anime fans, and this is UK anime fans, so to call them rowdy was kind of extraordinary. Whereas I've heard in America, there's just people literally, you know, everyone is out of their seats kind of thing. Whooping and hollering at the screen for the whole way through. It's a movie designed to whoop and holler at. Let's put it that way.
So people are throwing crumpets at each other.
Yes, people are throwing... Well, no, people are more going, oh, ho, 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 ho.
Tossing crumpets at the screen.
Or going woo every now and then when something ridiculous happens.
Woo!
Yeah, so all yelling woo at the screen.
Ah.
But yeah, that was the main stuff. But the actual biggest anime this season, for as big as Promare was, even that doesn't stand up to the might.
Well, also, let's face it. Most anime fans outside of Japan didn't see Promare until summertime or later anyway.
Whereas the anime this season, which is already, despite relatively young age, one of the biggest anime of the decade, like probable top 5 material, is Demon Slayer. Holy moly, did this thing blow up. And you told me it would as well, like a couple of years...
I told you, the manga was doing really well.
Yeah, you told me about it a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah, because even when it was fairly new as a manga, I saw a lot of people talking about it. And a key thing was, a lot of the people were not people who typically read shonen. Yeah,
it's in the same vein that people... The same vein that people were raving about One Punch Man before it came out. People were raving about Attack on Titan before it came out. What makes Demon Slayer... I mean, part of the reason why it was such a huge success was because of the studio they hired.
UFO Table.
Probably
better known to most use UFO Table, although I'll admit I have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced. Probably like UFO Tabaru.
They are the folks who made Fate Zero. Is easily what they're best known for.
You think that's it?
Well, what else?
What about Garden of Sinners?
Yeah, I don't see people talk about that as much nowadays, really.
True.
Whereas
that was the one. It had like the $700 movie release. No, maybe it was $300 something.
It was really expensive. I know the one you're talking about.
And you know what? It sold out in a few hours.
Yep.
Because I remember people screaming about it, and then that thing sold out in a flash.
They have very good animation, a very specific style where everything's really shiny, which has always bothered me, but it's incredibly good.
Also, the noses are reminiscent of boat prows.
Okay, that's not something I've noticed.
How could you not? They look like it could cut through the water like nothing.
I would have to go back and have a look at there.
I did not like the Garden of Sinners, by the way. I tried really hard.
No.
I watched 3 of them, and I just did not get it.
I watched 4 of them, I think. 3 or 4 of them. I didn't like it either.
I felt like I was missing something.
Yep. I didn't care for it much either.
They've also done a bunch of those other Fate ones.
Yeah. They did the movies, like Unlimited Blade Works.
Unlimited Butt Works.
Oh,
Wait.
yeah. No.
That wasn't a movie.
There was a movie.
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
Did they not?
I'm pretty sure they
No,
did.
there was another Unlimited Blade Works movie. I know the one you're talking about, because there was one that came out after Fate Zero that UFO Table did.
Are you sure about that?
Well, now you're doubting. You're making me doubt.
So,
I'm convinced there was.
No. Are you thinking of the Heaven's Feel movies?
Oh, maybe I am.
And those have only just been coming out. The Unlimited Blade Works movie was, I'm pretty sure it was...
That was
Dean.
Yeah. I thought they did maybe they did an Unlimited Blade Works TV series.
They did.
Okay. Well, there we go.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Okay.
They did the one that, unless you're calling the double-length opening episode of that a movie.
No.
Which I don't think it qualifies in any sense.
Was that not just plain old Fate's Day Night, or am I being stupid?
So they released as Fate's Day... I think officially it was Fate's Day Night and Limited Blade Works.
Okay.
God.
Yeah. The Fate verse.
I feel resentful now for the fact that I even know that much.
Anyway, that's Fate. But yeah, Demon Slayer. I actually
hate
watched
the word Fate.
I watched a good chunk of Demon Slayer. It's, as I say, incredibly well animated. The way they animate the kind of water effects coming off the guy's sword is really creative. Definitely my favorite part of the show is just to watch them have fun with that visual effect. The story is a wee bit forgettable, I found. And once they introduced the incredibly annoying characters, the annoying duo who their introduction was like...
Wait, it's a duo? I thought it was just that orange-haired kid.
Well, the orange-haired kid, but there's also a man with a pig face.
Oh, the boar guy.
Yeah, he was also annoying, but he's definitely the blonde guy.
I was going to say, people seem to actually kind of like the boar guy, whereas I have not seen anybody... Okay, actually, that's a lie. I did see one person cosplaying the blonde kid, which I was like...
I think the boar guy... I think they both get better. The boar guy had, he had less a distance to climb to be a good character. But because I was relatively indifferent about it beforehand, I was kind of enjoying it. When they introduced the blonde kid, I was just, nope. But it was shortly after that the show felt like it really blew up. The amount of cosplay I've seen of Nezuko.
She does seem to be perhaps the most... If you're looking at fan works...
Yes.
She seems to be the most popular character.
She never says anything.
I know. I was under the impression she just sort of, is blob-like until she's tearing people's throats out, and there's really no in-between.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. She lives in a box and has a thing in her mouth. That means...
God, that makes me think of Battle Athlete's Victory, because there's one of the characters who hides in a box all the time.
I actually kind of like when someone tries to attack the main character, and he's like, just watch out, I got a demon in my box, and like the box opens, she comes out and rips her throat out, and you're like, that's pretty cool. The show's pretty...
I did see a bunch of good gifs of, things happening, and everybody else is like, I'm fighting so hard, and then she just pops out of nowhere and, like, rips people's heads off. Yeah,
that was one of the early scenes when she first comes into her demon in one of the earlier episodes. She kicks a man's head off like it's a football, and it is amazing. The show's fun. Maybe I'll go back to it, because they are making more, because it's been such a wild success. I just need to power past those episodes where the blonde kid isn't. Maybe I'll play him on fast forward.
I just remember you insisting that I was telling you what the title was in English, and you're like, no, this is a different show than that. I was like, no, that is what it's been released as the manga.
Yeah.
It is the same thing. Because, Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, no, it's different. I'm like, no, believe me, it's not different. Right, you know what? Well...
There are worse things to get popular, so I have no begrudging feelings.
I was going to mention some of the other things that were just absolute garbage this season.
Oh, like?
Because I figure we do need to hit on those, probably probably the worst thing this season of things that people have seen was Seven Seeds.
Oh, dear.
Which, this was a Netflix adaptation of a fairly lengthy shoujo series that primarily ran in the 90s.
I've read it. Read a lot of it, actually.
It's so 90s shoujo.
Oh, yes.
It's sci-fi, it's fairly violent, it's not a very uplifting series.
No.
If Celestial Legends series, similar wheelhouse to that. Of course, I don't know who the hell.
Might even be the same author.
No.
No, she's done something else. Basara, that's what she's done. The same author.
Yeah, but very 90s shoujo. I don't think they really make a lot of shoujo like this anymore, but this was a
particularly not as humorless.
It was a very popular series. It ran for ages, and it's one of those ones that you probably haven't heard that many Western fans like, oh, I wish they'd do an adaptation of Seven Seas.
They never released it, did they?
What?
I don't think it was ever licensed.
No. Oh, yeah. God, no. That would have been a very difficult sell.
Yeah.
It's, for one thing, it's wickedly long.
Yeah.
But it's not one that you heard Western fans having much, like, oh, I want an adaptation of this. But it's one of those ones that in Japan was a perennial, like, hey, are they going to make an adaptation of this? And guess what? They finally did. Oh, my God.
Because the people adapting it are gonzo. And gonzo, I think I mentioned this to you the other day, is that I think the current gonzo are a scam.
See, whereas I have said I don't think it is entirely a scam, because then you have things like Bed and Breakfast for Spirits and Space Battleship Tiramisu, which to me do not appear to be scam productions. They have their faults, but I don't think the faults are any more noticeable than, your kind of middle of the road anime studio produced thing.
But my God, this thing was a Netflix pickup, and
well, Netflix. It wasn't a Netflix pickup. It was a Netflix
funded.
What contracted Gonzo to produce this?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was happy with this.
No.
It's only 12 episodes long, so considering that the manga is something nuts like 30 volumes long, around there,
it's late. I think it's the late 20s. Yeah.
So of course it barely scratches the surface, and I haven't seen it. It looks pretty ugly.
Yeah. The other show that should have been really big, and kind of is big news, because we were talking about directors after Sarazanmai, was Shinichi Watanabe, a.k.a. Mr. Cowboy Bebop, also
Samurai
Champloo. And we mentioned
Space
him.
Dandy.
We mentioned him for
Kids
Space
on
Dandy.
the Slope.
Kids on the Slope is the more relevant one here, I think, because Carole and Tuesday came out this season, which is by him. And I guess you would kind of call it a science fiction-y, shoujo-y type story. Stretching it a bit, but it's two teenage girls form a music duo together. One of them is a refugee living on her own on Mars, and Mars is it's kind of a futuristically American city is where they're living, and the other one is a rich girl, daughter of the politician trying to become president, and she runs away of the president, who is very clearly trying to emulate a female trope, or female populist, shall we say. She's a populist. And they form a band together, and then...
Oh, God. You realize what she actually probably is?
What?
Marine Le Pen.
Oh, she does kind of look like her.
Not Marion.
Mary... how'd you say her name? Marine Le Pen, yes.
Marine Le Pen.
Yeah.
I'm not good with French.
That would... she does kind of look like her, you're right.
She does. Because I don't know how that didn't occur to me before, because I can see in my mind's eye the two of them, and there's...
Here's the problem. So before I spoil Carole and Tuesday, the show is very good when it is Carole and Tuesday, the two main characters, just interacting and trying to, get their next big hit. They try to sign up with a music producer, but the music producer turns out to be insane. They try to, get a gig at a bar, and that ends up being a positive experience. They try to team up with a local DJ who's really popular, aka
oh god,
Artigon.
He's terrible in a good way.
He's amazing. I loved Artigon. It was very clear that they didn't realize how good.
They tried to make a music video with the shitty beer drinking robot.
Oh, yes.
He was like, "I'm for shooting movies."
Yeah.
And he's not.
what's funny with Urshigun is brilliant, is they realized what a great character he was and they kept bringing him back for random skits as the show goes on. The problem with the show... Well, you watched about this far with me.
I watched 13 or 14 episodes, and I was like, oh, I'm done with this bullshit.
Yeah.
Because it was starting to turn more toward... So, you have stuff going on a couple levels. There's the music thing that's going on, but it also wants to be about, it wants to be a political critique.
Yeah.
And...
It's fucking shite at it.
Well, I guess the bigger issue is the show's trying to be too many things. And it doesn't really have enough space to do any of that. It doesn't have enough space to execute them all effectively. Because it's trying to cram too much stuff in. And as you started to say, I thought the political stuff was just complete crap. It's very surface level.
It's surface level to a point of being insulting.
And I could tell that the show is leaning harder into that when I really just wanted to watch the show about our two leads making it in the music industry.
Which was good.
Carole and Tuesday themselves are fantastic. I loved them. I loved spending time with them.
Yeah.
I didn't care about most of the other stuff that was going on in the show.
Exactly.
And more broadly, Watanabe, I don't know what happened between Samurai Champloo and Kids on the Slope, but it's like he fell down a flight of stairs and it's just, he can't do drama at all. It comes off as, either really just head-smackingly stupid or so cloying it's obnoxious.
It's exactly it. And the show is very, very clearly trying to be woke. And if you listen to this podcast, we like to think of ourselves as being very woke. Maybe not. We wouldn't call ourselves that, but we're pretty lefty. So just to couch my criticism in those terms, this is the most surface level, pathetic attempt at being woke because they come across as, what's the trope? The magical Negro trope? It feels like that, some of the way they depict these characters, and they don't give them any chance to be human. It's just this weird caricature of a...
There was that really bizarre scene involving they're at the concert and they're supposed to perform. They accidentally end up in the trailer of that there's a black performer. That was such a weird scene. And there was a lot of unexamined racism floating around that scene.
Exactly, and that's the same with a lot of other things. They're trying... I had someone describe to me on Twitter, sorry I can't remember who you are, but it was perfect description of it, which is that Watanabe comes off as a Westaboo instead of Weeaboo, get it? Which is basically that he is in love with the culture without understanding it, and therefore in his attempts to mimic it is insulting. And it's depressing about it is that Copcraft, which comes out next season and has none of the animation prowess that, not that Carole and Tuesday is super well animated.
We also, let's be frank. Copcraft is kind of a hot mess from A to Z.
Yes, it is.
But it has a much
better
defter. It is much defter on political analysis.
Yes. So here's the part where I spoil the ending for Carole and Tuesday, what they're all building up to. So skip the next minute or so. They spent the whole show building up to this one magical performance, which they open every fucking episode talking about. The 7
magical minutes, or whatever the fuck
blah, 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 blah. Basically, they get past all these magical performers they've met over the course of the show, and they all stand in front of a stage and say, no, the country's being divided, we must unite them. And then they sing a song, and that's the end. Congratulations. Live, it's basically like Live Aid, but if Live Aid, the song wasn't about anything, and they didn't raise any money. They just reported a thing saying, we're all together, see? It's like, wow, you really fucking solved everything. And that's what the whole show is building up to. Also, the Marie Le Pen character, it was like, oh no, you were being misled by some evil businessman.
That's really stupid.
Bullshit. The ending is the most... The show makes me angry because of how good some of it was. Anyway, I needed to get that off my chest. The end, Carole and Tuesday.
We haven't even touched on some of the, oh God, some of the just absolutely jaw-droppingly insensitive depictions of various minorities mid-show with the whole Mars Brightest thing.
Oh, Jesus. Mars Brightest was where it started to fall apart.
Which, and I've even people like, oh no, actually, this is funny. I'm like, how is this funny? Why is this funny? It's just making fun of trans people.
Yeah.
I haven't even touched on this show's really bad relationship with trans people.
Oh God, you didn't even meet the magical trans person they meet later on.
Because apparently in this Mars there is some sort of weird disorder where some people who have gone to live on Mars start... I don't even know how to describe it because it's not clear to me what the hell they thought they were doing with it. But it's basically, there's this weird thing that causes people to swap biological sex.
Yeah.
And I use specifically biological sex as the term because that, I think, is what's going on. But it's also not really... It's not really clear what on earth they're trying to say with it, what on earth they meant for it to be.
Yeah.
So you just get this really uncomfortable thing where it's like...
Yeah.
One of the characters in particular, the mother of...
Yeah.
I say mother because I don't know what to say in this case, because it's not clear what the show wants me to take from this.
Yeah.
Whether she's the mother of the rival singer, Angela, and it's a mess. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it's a mess.
One final thing. For a show where a very central theme of the show is about how to make music that you believe in rather than created by a computer, fucking hell, the music is generic as shit. The most generic as, oh yeah, I heard this on a radio one day type music. It has no... Like, someone pointed out, if Carole and Tuesday were a punk band, it would make way more sense. If they started
for the most part, it's fine in a bland way.
Exactly.
There's very little bit of stuff that I'd be like, whoa, shut this shit off.
Yeah.
But it's not... Also, this is supposed to be like, oh, it's in, this futuristic thing. All the music sounds like it was released in, 2018 or 2019.
Yes.
And it seems kind of ridiculous, all things considered. Oh, I'm sorry. The Three Mermaids, or whatever the fuck they were called.
Yes.
Theirs doesn't, but that's because, trans people or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in it, but there's also... It's not a good show, ultimately.
Nope.
But it apparently did all right.
Did it?
Well,
the second half is being released on Netflix on Christmas Eve.
I think the first half did well.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, the first half of the show is better. Those early episodes are quite good.
When it focuses on Carole and Tuesday themselves, it's a good show. They're good characters. Their dynamic is good. They start piling in all this other crap that's totally unnecessary.
And even some of the drama with Carole and Tuesday is good. Like the arc where she meets her...
Okay, I went because I just remember the way that the Mars Brightest competition resolves, and so as Carole and Tuesday are getting a bit more attention as performers, there start to be some tensions where they're not communicating as well with each other, which, okay, fine. But it resolves in the dumbest way possible. And it's one of those things where, when you have a character and you're watching, you're like, okay, the lesson of this is clearly going to be such and such. And then instead the show or the movie or whatever is like, nah, that wasn't it. It actually is this really stupid thing that is a terrible message. But that's enough about Carole and Tuesday.
God, we spent so long talking about Carole and Tuesday. I needed to get that off my chest, though, because...
Well, I was waiting because you kept not wanting to tell me your issues with it.
Yeah, because I continued watching it while you didn't. But yeah, that was Carole and Tuesday. Oh, let's blast through a lot of their other stuff here. I know a lot of other people had the same frustration that we share with Carole and Tuesday for the sequel for One Punch Man. because you mentioned this in a previous episode, that it was this, because you were trying to remember the name of the, because you thought it was Mob Psycho had the bad sequel. No, Mob Psycho sequel was good. It was the One Punch Man sequel where they changed the studio, because it went from Madhouse, and Madhouse are a bit all over the place, but it was mostly the staff that Madhouse had brought on board for season 1 were really, really good. They put out a really solid piece.
Also, they didn't manage to kill any of their employees that time.
Yes, which is a rarity for Madhouse.
I wouldn't go that far,
yes.
but,
yeah.
you know, at least
it's more than one.
At least one confirmed kill of a staff member is pretty bad.
Yes. And then then the news came out for season 2 that it wouldn't have the same staff list. It would be picked up by JC Staff instead. And people were like, okay, that's not good. And then the trailer came out and the reaction was, oh no, you've ruined it. And the sequel got bad reviews. I liked One Punch Man. To be honest, this season was fine, but it wasn't as good as season 1.
Well,
and people who really liked the show.
I do think that given the nature of One Punch Man, there's kind of a limit to it.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced it's actually something that works long term.
Still popular, but yeah, the sequel wasn't good and didn't get good reviews at all. People are incredibly frustrated by it.
Well, you know, since we talked about something that people didn't like that was a sequel, well, this isn't really a sequel, but it is a reboot, Fruits Basket.
Yes.
People loved this.
Because I wasn't expecting people to go nuts for it like they have ultimately.
See, I figured it was going to do pretty decently.
I just remembered the Sailor Moon reboot and the return of Cardcaptor Sakura.
Okay, so there's a key difference between... The Cardcaptor Sakura thing is not a good comparison point because...
That was a sequel.
Well, and the manga sequel was not well regarded to begin with. A lot of people, it was this feeling of like, aren't we just laundering and reusing plot points and storylines we've already done before? And to Cardcaptor Sakura's original manga, it was a complete story. It didn't need anything. And actually, that's why I never checked out the sequel, because it was like, this is fine. It doesn't need anything additional. Anyway, it's not a good comparison point. Also, please keep in mind that Sailor Moon Crystal initially did pretty well.
Yes.
Enough that, you know, streaming sites were getting crashed.
Yes.
Whenever new episodes came out. But it became pretty clear that the visuals were not up to par.
Yeah.
And that's when it cratered.
Exactly.
So, I figured this was going to do well.
I guess call me wrong, but I thought it was going to be another one of those. And then it came out and people went, oh no, this is great. Including lots of people who had no experience with Fruit Basket before.
Yeah. You know, and in fact, enough so that I did consider maybe checking it out, even though I did not like the first anime.
Neither did I.
In fact, I fairly aggressively disliked the first anime.
Me too.
But people really enjoyed this. You know, I'm glad for them, honestly. It's getting sequels. The plan is to ultimately adapt all of the manga.
Which is very long.
Which is pretty long. It's going to take a while. So, you know, I'm happy for fans. Even if it's not something that I really want to watch. Still, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out for people.
Something else that was quite popular from this season, which... It's not really a return of anything, it's more as a weird mashup, was Sakai Quartet. Which, I'll say this, if you're going to pick 4 isekai, these are 4 that I'm like, they're fine. You know, they took Tanya the Evil, Overlord,
Konosuba,
Uba, and what was the last one? Oh, Ray Zero.
Yeah.
And if you're going to pick 4 isekai, I am fine with them. I don't particularly like Konosuba much. I didn't find it funny, but the others I all think have merit to them.
Well, you know, they weren't like, let's just have Goblin Slayer in here.
Yeah, none of them have any slavery apologia. But yeah, if you're going to pick, these are probably the 4 most respectable isekais that were out at the time, probably. In terms of ones that are very truly light novel isekais.
As opposed to
shoujo isekais. Like the previous era.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
12
Kingdoms.
Kingdoms.
You're sort of mixing your terms a bit.
Yes, but yeah.
12 Kingdoms. Well, no, those are novels.
Yes.
They're not light novels. I know, I read the first one in English. Fucking Tokyo
And then
Pop.
there were a bunch of pervy shite. Like, I watched nearly all of, don't ask me why, Ao-chan Can't Study, which is a girl whose dad is a light novel porn author. And she's like, and because her dad is a light novel porn author, she's like, oh, men are the worst. They just all want to, like, grab women's boobies.
Oh, so it's like Dear Brother. One of the girls in Dear Brother, her father's a pornographer.
Okay.
And she's looked down on hardcore by a lot of the other students for it, and she hates her father.
Yep, that's the same for this girl here.
Also, accurately, he's very wealthy.
Oh, okay.
Well, she's at a rich girl's school.
In this case, this cute boy, falls for her, and she's like, no, I cannot, because he's just a disgusting man. And then the rest of it is just lots of pervy mishaps.
It also looked pretty cheap.
Oh, it's super cheap. There's like funny moments in it, but I watched nearly all of it. It's not bad as far as dumb pervy stuff goes. Ao-chan Can't Study was by a shoujo manga author.
I mean, okay.
Which I thought was like, oh, that weirdly makes a lot of sense. And then there was the porn that you watched.
This one actually was porn.
Okay.
Like, actually porn. Porn, not ecchi.
One of those porn TV shows that they show on TV.
This was not on TV. Oh, it may have been in its censored form, but
yes.
I watched its uncensored form.
Okay.
Because I watched the first episode censored, and it didn't make any sense because they just completely excised the entire sex scene, so it doesn't make sense. Like, one moment someone's back is being scrubbed, and the next moment someone's lying on the floor and is panting. And it's like, wait, what? So this one is Araya-san Orito Atsuga Omayude, which is something, I forget the exact translation, but it's like, oh no, I have to clean people's baths in the bathhouse or something like that. The premise is that this teen guy, his family runs an onsen, and his grandfather is known for, like, his mega backwashing skills, because there are onsen at which you will have the bathhouse attendants who will, wash your back and things like that, and that's his whole claim to fame. But he's also very specifically, he scrubs the back in the women's baths. But he throws his back out. How ironic. So he can't do it anymore, so, oh no, who's gonna do it? Oh, I know, let's have the 16-year-old guy do it. That'll totally work well.
Yeah.
And thus begins Antics in the Bathhouse. But he ends up, he's a real galaxy brain sort. He gets told off and embarrassed in front of everybody during school gym class by this cute strawberry blonde who is like, you're stupid. And he's like, I have no comeback. And she's part of the volleyball team, and then the volleyball team comes to the onsen after they've been having their practice, and he's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll get revenge on her by getting her off.
Revenge succeeded.
And oh, by the way, she doesn't recognize that it's him because he's like tied his hair up with a towel, and everybody's like, who is this man? We have no idea. It's like, yes, totally unrecognizable. It's fine. I feel awkward talking about a hentai.
You're the one who insisted we put it on the list.
Yeah, well, it was the only other show I finished. Oh yeah, this is from Magic Bus. This is another one. I've mentioned some of their stuff before where it's this, like, because all Magic Bus does really these days is porny shit.
Porny shit that runs on TV.
I don't know if this actually ran on TV,
It did.
though. Did it?
Yeah, because Mal always will say, like, the censored version ran on TV along with that one, XL Joshi.
Yeah, that came out. We're not talking about that yet. 'Cause that just came out.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to have to watch that one, too.
Okay.
Because I have been checking all of them out of a sort of, like,
Because you're horny?
No, it's not. It's just, it's like looking at...
Because your husband isn't taking care.
My. No, I was going to say it's why people look at car crashes. Here's Magic Bus. It's like... I think that's that movie, okay. Crash. Not the one about white people being racist.
Okay.
The other Crash.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like Magic Bus. Oh, yes. The studio that made Legend of the Galactic Heroes. What do they do now? Oh, they make, like, short form porn. Oh, okay, cool. Wait, what? Anyway, the Strawberry Blonde is pretty cute.
I understand most of the stuff. This one may be less so, but a lot of this stuff feels like it's aimed at women.
Yes. I would say most of the stuff they've done is aimed at women.
Yeah. Less so this one, maybe.
Yeah. I could see, though, this being, as far as hentai goes, this is definitely, like, it's not rapey.
Yeah.
People pretty much have a good time. There's this ridiculous scene involving them having sex in a shower.
Okay.
And they get busy in the shower, and then her teammate's like, oh yeah, we just finished with practice. We're going to take our showers too. And then they're trying not to get caught. But then they start having sex again.
Yep.
And the other one's like, are you okay in there? Did you just fall? And she's like, no. And it's
this
so ridiculous.
This sure sounds like a hentai.
It's so ridiculous. So, if you like hentai and you like Magic Bus.
So that's kind of most of everything from... There's a couple of movies, apart from Promare.
A few movies.
Promare outshone a lot of them, eclipsed a lot of these, because I have seen Children of the Sea.
Yep.
Which is probably best described as being... At one point towards the end of the movie, because I saw this in the cinema at the same time I saw Promare, and at one point in the movie towards the end, a character goes like, I have no idea what just happened, and the whole audience burst out kind of like this slow murmur laugh.
You should probably mention you also saw it at Scotland Loves Anime.
Scotland Loves Anime in Edinburgh, which was... Promare was definitely the highlight of that. But
Scotland Loves Gay Anime.
Yeah, there was that. Ride Your Wave was the other one, which I missed. I couldn't see that one. That's the one by Ikuahra, where he just tried to make just a teen romance anime.
I think I just assumed that it was somehow like Suritama.
I understand it's actually a pretty generic teen romance anime. Like they're trying to do they're trying to do
I might be completely imagining this, but it might be adapted from a novel.
You might be right, I think. It didn't do very well as far as the teen romance genre goes.
Well, or Ikuahra hits.
Oh, Ikuahra, yeah. It's
not... no Devilman Crybaby. I think, yeah. Anyway,
and then I'm
not gonna insult Devilman Crybaby.
And then there was one other movie here at the bottom.
You didn't even mention Senko Roll.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that though. It finally got a sequel.
It finally existed.
After 12 years? It got a sequel movie, which I downloaded and then decided I actually didn't care. Which is awful, but yeah.
Well, so the world turns. Of course, the one we really care about... Uda no Prince-sama Maji Love Kingdom. So, of course, Udapri had 3 seasons, and this is the sequel to the 3rd season. This got a theatrical run in the U.S.
Oh, yes, it did.
Which I'm delighted by. I don't feel a need to watch it. I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Udapri, but, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table. Honestly, Season 2 is pretty similar to Season 1, and even if I enjoyed them, it wasn't sufficiently enough to watch Season 3. Although maybe I'll go back. But yeah, this got a movie. I think it had fairly decent promo art, actually. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it. I do think it's funny that it got a theatrical run, even if it was fairly limited in the U.S. And I probably would have gone to see it if I was living in the U.S. right now. Admittedly, partly because I'm always interested in encouraging there to be greater access to, well, more varied content.
It's very difficult to watch anime movies where we are. I had to fly to Scotland to see Promare, so...
I did look into seeing the Love Live Sunshine movie, because they showed it here.
Yes, they did.
I kind of figured, though, that I figured trying to watch it subbed in German wouldn't work too well.
No.
Although I suppose it's a simplistic enough film, ultimately, that I'm sure I could have followed along, but I'd much rather... You don't really want to just wing it.
It's like watching a cam rip.
Well...
In the sense that you're watching a compromised version, whereas you could just wait and get the full experience of one go.
Well, yeah, and if you enjoy something, if it was something I cared less about, of course, if I cared less about it, I probably wouldn't have made the effort anyway. Anyway, my point being, yeah.
And that's the
spring 2019.
That just ended. I have a suggestion for the ending song.
Soya.
Do you want that one? I was going to say some Promare music, but
no,
we're gonna.
Fine. We're gonna have the Dirty Cops.
I need to find it. If we don't
find
it,
it's gonna be so easy to find it.
Okay.
Just type in Dirty Cops on YouTube, and it'll probably.
What do you think I'm gonna find if I like Dirty Cops?
So Crunchyroll actually put the clip of that sequence as Dirty Cops on YouTube.
All right. See you next time. Soya.
Shibori tore